Good evening and welcome to the first ever and hopefully last ever virtual Orchestra Awards ceremony. This is always a special night to recognize the accomplishments of our dedicated music students, and I hope that even though we're celebrating a little bit different than usual, you still enjoy this event. Since this is new to us, I have a few announcements before we get started. If you are watching during the live premiere time, I encourage you to use the chat feature to engage with one another. I will also be active in the chat during this time, and I think it's a great way to support and encourage your classmates. I will be referring to students by first name only, just for safety reasons, and all awards and recognitions will go alphabetically by first name. And the video is going to stay up even after the live premiere, so if you'd like to watch it or share with someone, that will be available to you. I'm going to be mentioning some specific awards that students are receiving, such as pins and medals, and I want to assure you that even though you're not physically receiving them tonight, I will set up a time for students to pick these up before the end of the school year. And just like the in-person awards night, this ceremony will consist of two parts. First, a recognition of our seniors, followed by a celebration of our whole orchestra team. So let's get started with our senior recognition. Before I tell you about our seniors, there's something really important I have to address. I always talk about how much I love this evening, and it's mostly because I love recognizing the amazing and dedicated students and their hard work. But it's also partially because we get to enjoy some delicious lasagna at the banquet beforehand. Seniors, as much as I wanted to send you all lasagna to your homes to enjoy tonight, I realized it probably wouldn't travel very well. However, I think I've come up with a good solution to kind of take the place of that. So this afternoon, I met up with your parents and gave them all a cake for you to enjoy. It's basically a dessert lasagna, so I hope you and your family can enjoy that treat as the ceremony continues. The high school orchestra seniors of 2020 are a dedicated, charismatic, and talented group. Over the past few years, I have watched them grow into leaders and incredible young adults. One thing that makes this group unique is that I've had the opportunity to perform with each one of them in a professional setting, whether a wedding, church service, the gospel festival, or in the pit orchestra for the musical. They have been incredible representatives of our school, always exhibiting poise and professionalism. They are truly a special group. Believe it or not, before the school closure, I was already planning what I wanted to say this evening. I found myself in a tricky situation because listing all of the amazing and positive attributes of each student would take more time than I have. So I decided to focus on just one thing. The one word that comes to mind when I think of each of our seniors. Seniors, my hope is that when you look back on this evening 10 years from now, you will remember this word as something that made you truly stand out as a student. And the great thing about each of these traits is that it's not exclusive to music. You can apply them to any area of your life. So no matter where you end up in the future, I hope you will continue to embrace what makes you stand out. Let's start with our bass player, Emily. Emily's word is innovative. And I would like to share a quick story that demonstrates just how perfect this word is for her. Bass players use something called a rock stop, which is a small metal disc that keeps your end pin from slipping or scratching up the floor while playing. Last year, Emily ran into a problem. Her end pin kept poking a hole through her rock stop, essentially making it useless. So Emily took matters into her own hands. She stacked 2 rock stops on top of each other, taped them together, and added additional reinforcement on the bottom. And that's how the double rock stop was born. Throughout the year, I would see her tweak the design, including bringing in duct tape at one point for extra strength. She even managed to attach it to her end pin somehow so that it was always there when she was ready to play. Now, I'm not sure that there's a huge market for the double rock stop, but it's a perfect example of Emily's creative mind. She's a problem solver and is always willing to tackle a challenge head on with a positive attitude and an excellent sense of humor. At the beginning of the school closure, she learned how to restring a bass, which is quite an intimidating task, so that she and her sister would have an instrument to play at home. And I should add that Emily has been a great sport this year as the only bass player in the high school. Being a section of 1 is not easy, and she has done a great job holding down the fort. I'm also glad that she has a younger sister who is following in her footsteps as a Peru bass player. Emily will be attending Clarkson University this fall, majoring in mechanical engineering with a minor in business. The perfect career path for someone so innovative. Next is Jen, one of our violinists. Jen's word is focus. In the 3 years I've known Jen, I have always found her to be incredibly driven and goal-oriented, traits that many high schoolers have yet to develop. When she sets her mind to something, she puts her all into it and sees the task through to the end. Some of my greatest memories with Jen involve working on spring and summer from the 4 seasons. These are some of my favorite pieces for solo violin, and it was such a pleasure to work with a student who had the attention to detail required to master them. She even had to learn how to make her violin sound like a bird, which you wouldn't expect to have to do as a musician, but she took on that task with her focus and did a great job with that as well. I've always appreciated that in class, Jen is like a second set of ears for me. She is never afraid to speak up and say when something doesn't sound quite right in a particular spot in the music. And sure enough, she's normally correct that there's a problem and we're able to work on it and resolve the issue. And I should also mention that Jen's focus makes her an excellent Chinese poker player, and I know because she has crushed me in many games in the past. Jen will be attending Binghamton University, majoring in pre-health sciences, where her focus and grit will continue to lead to success. Next is our cellist, Lauren, whose word is motivation. Lauren is always ready with a positive comment or encouraging word for her classmates. I've always admired this trait about Lauren, but I didn't fully understand it until I watched her in action on the volleyball court. Not only is she a wonderful player, but her positivity energizes those around her and leads to a great team dynamic. Lauren brings the same energy to orchestra every day. This year, she was typically the first student to class, and I loved watching her greet her classmates by name as they walked through the door. During class, it was not uncommon to hear Lauren say, "Wow, that sounded great," after a particular section played, further encouraging those around her. She has been a critical part of our team building in orchestra this year. And the students weren't the only ones who benefited from Lauren's encouragement and optimism. I've always been able to count on Lauren to brighten my day and be a positive role model, not just for the high schoolers, but for all of the string players in our school. In fact, she became quite popular among our 6th graders this year, as she was often in the orchestra room during their class time. And I know they loved having the opportunity to have a big kid join them playing from time to time. This fall, Lauren will be attending SUNY Plattsburgh, and although she is undecided on her major at this point, I am confident that she will continue to motivate those around her to be the best they can be. Next is Maddie, another one of our violinists, and Maddie's word is dedication. There is never a doubt in my mind that when Maddie commits to something, she will always follow through with it. When preparing solos or music for festivals, she would faithfully show up to practice every day during her study hall. And Maddie's dedication goes far beyond the orchestra room. This year, her Science National Honor Society project required her to come into school earlier than most teachers over the course of several weeks. Last summer, I received an email from Maddie which still sticks in my mind today. She had worked all summer to complete coursework for her AP biology class, only to find that the class met at the same time as orchestra. Maddie had decided to take biology since she had already put in so much work to the class, and she was emailing me to inform me of this decision and see if there was a way that she could still be involved in orchestra even if she wasn't registered for the class. My first thought, of course, was how much we would miss having her in class every day, but I quickly changed to realizing the maturity behind this decision. Not only had she made a rational decision based on where she planned to go in the future, but she was still trying to fulfill her commitments to both classes. And luckily, we were able to work things out so that she could attend orchestra every other day, so we still got to see her this year. And I was so glad that we could work this out because Maddie always comes to class with a big smile on her face and is ready to work hard and be a great example for those around her. Maddie will be majoring in biology this fall at Binghamton University, where she will continue to show dedication as a student. And last but certainly not least is violinist Michelle. I have to throw in a quick side note here because it's too funny not to share. Like I said, I started planning this senior dedication before there was any discussion of COVID or school closures, and I was trying to think of a word to describe how you can't help but be happy and laugh and smile when Michelle is around. And I finally came up with the perfect word, infectious, which of course I've realized I have to change because no one wants to be described as infectious in 2020. So I've come up with a new word for Michelle, but please know that that's the strength that I want to highlight. So Michelle's new word is joy. I specifically remember the first time I experienced this trait in Michelle. When I began working in the high school, the first couple of weeks were a little bit of a rough transition, as I'm sure many of the seniors can recall. And one day, I told a super cheesy joke, and instead of the awkward silence that usually came after my jokes, I heard uncontrollable laughter, which, as you've probably guessed, was coming from Michelle. And in that moment, I knew that everything was going to work out, which fortunately it did. Now here's the interesting thing. Michelle started laughing that day, and she hasn't stopped since. And I want to be super clear. Michelle is an incredibly hard worker and takes everything she does very seriously. But she exudes so much happiness and positivity as she works that it spreads to those around her. Whether she's playing a scale with an apple in her mouth, or putting the Cotton Eye Joe dance to literally every song in existence, or convincing the entire orchestra that a stuffed crow would make a great team mascot, Michelle is always influencing others with her joy and positivity. We will miss all of the laughter next year, but fortunately, Michelle also has a younger sister who is starting her journey as a violinist, and I can already tell they have the same sense of humor. Michelle will be attending SUNY Plattsburgh, majoring in communication science and disorders, where she will continue to spread joy. Seniors, there were many words I could have used to describe you, and like I said, I selected the word that stands out the most to me. But I wanted to share some words that come from another perspective, from your classmates. You are probably realizing now that the team building activity we did a couple of weeks ago was my sneaky way of getting information without revealing my plans for this evening. So here are a few responses from that activity, words that your classmates use to describe you. Emily: funny. And by the way, 8 students out of our 20-person orchestra wrote funny for Emily. So I think that one is, we have to go with that, funny. Considerate, caring, loving, and thebomb.com. Jen, talented, determined, thoughtful, confident, persistent, and hardworking. Lauren, sweet, funny, chatty, generous, compassionate, and selfless. Maddie, determined, kind, thoughtful, skillful, considerate, and sincere. Michelle, approachable, supportive, happy, giggle, angelic, and a legend. Congratulations, orchestra class of 2020. Enjoy this special tribute from your classmates.
I'm so glad I got to meet all the seniors this year. They're so nice, and I'm gonna miss them all so much next year.
Hello all seniors. Thank you for being great role models. Sadly, we didn't get to spend the rest of the school year and have one final concert. I'm wishing you all the best in the future. Good luck.
Thank you, seniors, for always being someone I can look up to, and thank you for all the amazing memories you gave me. Good luck in the real world, and I love you all. Hi, I'm gonna be really sad to see all of you go. I have been in orchestra with all of you, all of high school, and I can't imagine next year. I just can't imagine not having you guys in class, especially my first violin section. It's just gonna be so weird without everybody there. So, good luck. I'm gonna miss you.
Hey seniors, I hope you had a good year. I definitely did, and good luck next year. Bye.
Hi, I just wanted to say that I'm gonna miss you guys so much next year when you're not in the orchestra with us, and I just want to wish you all good luck in your first year of college.
The high school orchestra has had a busy and exciting school year. Our theme for this year was Orchestra is Rad, which isn't an old school way of saying that orchestra is cool, but rather an acronym listing the 3 elements that would help make us an effective team. relationships, achievement, and dedication. Positive relationships between peers are key to creating a great team dynamic. And when I surveyed the students at the beginning of the year asking how we could improve our relationships with one another, the response was overwhelming that they wanted the opportunity to get to know each other better. This is understandable since our group has students spanning 5 grade levels, and orchestra is the only common link between many of them. So we decided to start Team Building Friday, a weekly game or activity to help the students get to know one another better. Our team building activities ranged from simple name games at the beginning of the year to probably the most popular game, Don't Eat Pete, and I'll let the kids explain that to you later. But my favorite team building activity was in February when the students wrote love notes describing something they love about each of their classmates. And these were displayed in the hallway, creating an amazing visual demonstration of how much they had grown as a team so far that year. A few weeks ago, I tasked the students with identifying 3 positive things that came out of this school year. And I was so glad to read that many of them felt they had grown closer as a team and that was a positive from this year. I'd like to share a few of their responses. Growing close as an orchestra has taught me that music is not only about creating it. It's about learning that it can be created best when you are connected closely with everyone in the group. Another student said at the beginning of the year, I was hesitant to make new friends. As the year went on, I realized how nice it is to be friends with the orchestra. It makes everything run a lot smoother when everyone can communicate effectively and get along with each other. I have learned that an orchestra can perform much better if everyone is working as a whole instead of just for themselves. And finally, this year I learned that being connected with at least one similar interest can bring together an entire group of people, such as the orchestra. I love the relationships we can all make with each other, and I am absolutely excited to get back to school, mainly for orchestra. It is clear that we are successful in developing stronger relationships within our orchestra team, and I'm excited to see how they continue to grow in the coming years. Moving on to the A in RAD, achievement. I can say with confidence that this is the highest achieving high school orchestra I've had in my 3 years running the string program. They have tackled harder music with more precision and accuracy, and they've sought out opportunities for continued growth. There was one piece in particular that we worked on this fall, which I knew would be a real challenge for the students. And interestingly, it ended up being one of the best pieces that we performed in the winter concert. This is a testament to the students' hard work and focus as we worked through these challenges. Unfortunately, we didn't get to share our spring concert program with you, but based on how it sounded in March, it would have knocked your socks off. And as many of the students have shared in reflections, we still got a lot out of preparing that music, even though we didn't perform it. In a few moments, when I recognize students for their involvement in outside festivals and activities, take note of just how many of them have taken advantage of these extra opportunities. It truly amazes me that these activities, which traditionally only have a handful of students participate, have incredibly high participation among this year's high school crew. I have no doubt that they will continue to be a high-achieving group next year. And finally, the D in RAD, dedication. These students have demonstrated time after time that they are truly dedicated members of the Peru string program. We've had high attendance at the several extra events we've participated in throughout the year, and I've continued to see an increase in lesson attendance, which is something we've struggled with in the past, especially from our underclassmen who are really setting the bar high in that area. I've observed these students work hard to better themselves as musicians, which in turn has allowed our group to become even stronger. And even during this school closure, they have been on the ball and continued working hard despite the challenges they were facing. It is clear that the 2019-2020 high school orchestra has met the goal of being RAD. They have developed lasting relationships with their peers, worked hard to be a high-achieving ensemble, and demonstrated dedication to our team. So I would like to start the awards by recognizing each student who made this year so special. Now, in a traditional award ceremony, I would ask you to stand to be recognized, but tonight, let's have everyone comment a smiley face in the chat when your name is mentioned. Each of these students will be receiving a pin to recognize their participation in orchestra this year. And those students are Brad, Katia, Courtney, Emily, Aaron, Harley, Jan, Jen, Callie, Lainey, Landon, Lauren, Maddie, Megan, Michelle, Michaela, Molly, Riley, Tanisha, and Zarina. I would like to give a brief overview of our school year, highlighting some of our most memorable moments and recognizing student achievement along the way. In September, we welcomed 6 new faces to the high school orchestra. These students added energy and enthusiasm to our group, along with a lot of grit and dedication. It always amazes me how quickly students are able to transition from middle school orchestra to high school orchestra. And they have worked so hard to rise to the level the upperclassmen have set for them and are growing into future leaders themselves. They have been excellent contributors and are a big part to the success of our group this year. Each of these students will be receiving a Peru Music lanyard, and we hope that you will use this to hold your pins and awards that you receive throughout your time in the Peru Music program. The first year members are Katia, Lainey, Landon, Molly, Riley, and Zarina. Later in September, we had the opportunity to work with members of the Vera String Quartet, an internationally recognized group whose visit was generously funded by Hill and Hollow Music. Our orchestra participated in a masterclass led by the members of the quartet, and the before and after comparison of the students playing was incredible. We ended the day with a stunning performance by the quartet. In October, 13 of our students, along with 12 middle school string players, participated in the Essex County All-County Orchestra in Tupper Lake. I was glad we could collaborate with Essex County to include our students in their festival. And as always, the high schoolers were excellent leaders and role models for the younger students who participated in the ensemble. Each student will receive a medal for their participation in this event. And those students were Brad, Courtney, Harley, Jan, Jen, Lainey, Landon, Maddie, Megan, Michelle, Michaela, Molly, and Tanisha. We kicked off November with a performance at the Peru Lions Club election night dinner, along with the chorus and jazz band. This was a great way to share our music with the community, and it was well received by all in attendance. Later in November, we had 12 students attend the Zone 5 Area All-State Festival at Indian River Central School. To have 60% of our class attend a festival of this level speaks very highly to the dedication of these students. I will say that I was a bit nervous taking 12 students on an overnight trip, but it ended up being one of my favorite parts of the school year. They demonstrated maturity, responsibility, and were just fun to be around. This quick video clip really sums up the atmosphere of the entire trip. You can't see anything because it was taken on the bus on the way home from dinner, but I think you'll get the idea of just how much fun the trip was.
Easy come, easy go. We're so low. Anywhere the wind blows doesn't really matter to me. To me, da 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 da. Mama.
And I should add, they sang the whole song from start to finish, including all the instrumental parts and guitar solos. It was something, and a lot of fun to be around. And one more thing I'd like to mention, and I should preface this by saying that it is absolutely true, even though I know it sounds a little bit unbelievable, but a member of the hotel staff apparently thought all 12 kids were mine and complimented me on raising such polite children. So I want to make sure that this compliment gets back to the right people. Parents, thank you for raising such fun, thoughtful, and responsible children. These students performed a concert alongside some of the best musicians in the North Country and will be receiving a medal in recognition of this accomplishment. Those students were Brad, Courtney, Aaron, Jan, Jen, Lauren, Maddie, Megan, Michelle, Michaela, Molly, and Tanisha. In December, we gave our winter concert, which ended up being the final concert for our seniors. I know this was unexpected and disappointing, but I do want to point out to our seniors that means you ended your final piece that you performed with the high school orchestra was our beautiful tribute to Dalton Chris. And I can't think of a better way to end my time in orchestra than honoring such a great teammate and friend. We also had the opportunity to perform at the December school board meeting, and later in the month, the orchestra, band, and chorus teamed up to lead the high school in a holiday sing-along. January and February were relatively uneventful as we used that time to focus on preparing for several upcoming events, which, of course, all ended up being canceled when we switched to remote learning in March. But I am proud to say that the learning and teamwork didn't stop there. Despite the difficult transition, they stayed engaged, completing all online assignments, and we were even able to complete team building activities remotely. Our We Are the World video reached over 1,500 people in one day and was a great example of our continued unity during this difficult time. And we are currently working on another special video for the high school graduation later this month. Even though this school year was filled with many unexpected challenges, I couldn't have asked for a better group of students to work through these challenges with. Their kind hearts, excellent sense of humor, and desire to continually improve make them a joy to work with each and every day, in person and remotely. Watching them grow as a team throughout the year has fulfilled my vision that I've always had for our string program, and they are setting a wonderful example for future members of the Peru High School Orchestra. We're going to end this evening with a presentation featuring the students, each recounting their favorite memory from the school year. Thank you for attending the virtual awards ceremony this evening and for your continued support of the music program at Peru Central School. Students, have a great rest of your year and a well-deserved summer vacation.
My favorite memory from orchestra was getting to work with Michelle on the duet that we decided to learn.
One of my favorite orchestra memories is when we performed at the election at the church.
My favorite memory was the farmer's market because it was fun to play outside with the whole orchestra.
My favorite orchestra memory of the 2019-2020 school year is when we played Solitary Wish for Dalton Chris. I believe it truly represented Dalton's part in our orchestra. Additionally, it made us more connected as a whole.
My favorite memory of orchestra this year is our team building games on Fridays. Not only was it a good way to end the weekend, but we started to become really close in orchestra because of it.
The best part about orchestra for me was definitely all the friends that I made throughout the years. Especially one of my best friends, Michaela, who's been my stand partner for so long. I really miss you guys so much, and I wish I could come back and play next year with you.
My favorite orchestra memory from this year was honoring Dalton in the winter concert with a song we felt represented him and his life perfectly.
One of our favorite memories is the We Are the World project.
What I really like about the We Are the World project is how we all came together as a class to bring joy to so many people who saw.
I really liked how this was a fun project for all of us to work on together and how we made this a great song.
My favorite memory from orchestra this year was going to Area All-State for the first time. It was really fun, and I'm glad that I got to get to know everybody a little bit better.
Every week, every week, me, Emily, and Callie would all go to our lockers, or just one of our lockers, and we would get food for each other, and we'd go back in class late all the time, and we would eat it, and make a lot of noise, and it was just really memorable and really nice.
I liked it when we made Valentines for each other.
One of my favorite memories of orchestra was the winter concert because it was the last concert that most of us are ever going to have together. And it was just really special, you know, we had the piece for Dalton and everything, which I thought was really, really nice. And it was overall just one of the best concerts I've ever been a part of.
If I were to choose a favorite orchestra memory, I think it would be our Friday games because they're always really fun, especially like the one where we sit in a circle and have to trade seats.
My favorite memory from orchestra is listening to Michaela and Michelle play their duet every day after we practice as a group.
My favorite orchestra memory was performing at Area All-State. I really enjoyed being in a new setting and having the opportunity to play with a symphony orchestra, and I hope to do it again.
My favorite memory from orchestra this year was probably the winter concert because it was all the seniors' last chance to play together.
I think our orchestra makes a lot of memories during the Friday activities and the games, and it's just a good way to bond together and laugh after a hard day of schoolwork.
My favorite memory of orchestra 2019 to 2020 is when we did the piece for Dalton. It was a really beautiful piece, and I got left on stage because I couldn't get off the stage with my instrument and my crutches, which is not funny then but funny now, and I think Dalton, after I got off stage, he would have found it really funny.